Hi, welcome to Loft 801. My name is Diego, and today I'm talking about last year's remake of The Crow, starring Bill Skarsgård, fkatwigs, and Danny Huston. This is probably going to be my hottest take on the channel, but I had a surprisingly good time. This is coming from a guy who's never seen any of the films in the original franchise or who's never read any of the comics. I came into this movie blindly with only the trailers to guide me, and for the expectations the trailer set, I was very satisfied. Quick heads up, this review may contain the occasional spoiler, but I'll do my best to avoid them. Eric and Shelley are two troubled souls who meet in rehab and quickly fall into a passionate relationship. Their brief, and I mean brief, happiness is shattered when they're brutally murdered by agents of the Rogue Corporation led by the enigmatic Vincent Rogue. Eric awakens in purgatory where he's granted the opportunity to hunt down Rogue with supernatural powers. I was going to say crow powers, but he doesn't really have crow powers. He's basically invincible and can heal from his injuries. This movie is largely a bloodfest as Eric kills Rogue's men and eventually faces Vincent. The plot in this movie is largely straightforward. Is it believable? Well, there are demonic and supernatural forces at play, so not really. Take that away, and even the romance isn't believable. I don't care about Eric and Shelley because they're both really shallow losers. However, I went into this movie wanting to see some boy kills world action, and that's exactly what I got. So I'm willing to look past a lot of the cliches and shallow writing. The highlight of the film is clearly the action and seeing Bill Skarsgård be a bloody force of nature. This film earns its R rating with lots of blood and guts. Skarsgård fully leans into the punk goth aesthetic and feels like an underground anarchist. His body language is stiff and zombie-like at times, but he can snap in bursts of violence, almost animalistic action. I love the rage and spirit of vengeance that drives him. Contrary to what a lot of people think, I don't think he's an awkward, grungy, Jared Leto Joker cartoonish character. At least, not when he's fighting. At the start of the film, sure. But the intro to the film is pretty brief, and the majority of this film is him killing bad guys, and it looks great. The choreography is tight and intimate, with a big focus on hand-to-hand combat or close quarters weaponry. When Eric fights, it feels like a street brawl. He's not a trained assassin, he's just a man with a grudge. I love that with his healing factor, we get unique scenes of him being kicked out of a car and run over. The fact that he can heal from that and still fight is really cool to me. It's a very Wolverine aspect. Making the fighting even better is the exaggerated blood. The camera doesn't flinch from showing guts, broken limbs, or gore. It shares the same gritty commitment to hyperviolence that Boy Kills World had. I think a big part of why Eric's grunge look worked for me is because this film takes place in a moody and atmospheric world. The cinematography employs a palette of dark hues, neon lights, and shadowy environments. Things look and feel like a modern gothic world. There are abandoned buildings, industrial warehouses, graffiti-covered apartment complexes, and opulent yet decaying corporate towers. There's a rot at the core of every location, and it kind of reminds me of what Gotham feels like. Adding to the gothic aesthetic, Enya's Boudica, Gary Newman's Me, and Total Depravity by The Veil sets a melancholic punk ethereal tone. Gothic stories often rely on mood, and this soundtrack supports that. There's a scene where Eric tosses the heads of his enemies to an opera crowd, and there's something poetic and somber about it. While this film may not have had a nuanced narrative, I still appreciated the grungy, emotional, theatrical, and stylized aesthetic. Outside of Bill Skarsgård and fkatwigs, I wasn't really impressed with the acting from anyone else. Specifically, I wasn't impressed with Danny Huston. I don't know if it was him or his writing, but Vincent Rogue was a goofy villain. The way he came across and the CGI for him felt and looked cheesy. I think he was one of the only real instances where I thought things looked goofy. There are some weird narrative elements like the train yard, Kronos, and the crow powers that I wish had been explored and explained better, but at the end of the day, I wanted an action movie, and that's what I got. If you're a fan of the Brandon Lee 1994 film, then this remake is a sharp departure from that. This remake is more grungy, stylized, romanticized, visually modern, and heavier on the fantasy. The 1994 film is more poetic, comic book noir, and grounded. So if you're looking for a film that's closer to the comics, then this remake probably isn't for you. The 1994 version is much closer to that and captures the heartbreak and tragedy better, while this is a looser adaptation. I'm normally a stickler for keeping things as close to the source material as possible, but for this review, I'm putting my blinders on because I have no loyalty to the lore, and from my understanding, at its core, this film is about a man murdered alongside his lover and being resurrected to seek vengeance. It's tonally and thematically different, but the franchise recognition is there. If someone were to ask me, have you seen The Crow? I would say which one, Brandon Lee or Bill Skarsgård? If you feel this movie doesn't deserve the title, please let me know and educate me in the comments. I am always happy to learn. Overall, The Crow worked for me. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. The romance is rushed, the villain is kind of goofy, and there's a ton of undercooked lore and world building, but I genuinely had a good time. The action was intense, the visuals were gorgeous, and the soundtrack was moody and fitting, and Bill Skarsgård brought a dark, raging, and vengeful energy that made the whole thing worth watching. If you go in expecting a faithful adaptation of the original comic or a remake that honors Brandon Lee's legacy, you're going to be disappointed. But if you go in like me, knowing nothing about the lore, then you'll find a chaotic, stylized, and modern film film with big fights, blood, and a goth punk aesthetic. It's gritty, it's theatrical, it's violent, it knows it wants to be an action movie, and it executes that action well. I can't say this was a worthy reboot, but I enjoyed watching it. Thank you for listening to my review of The Crow. If you enjoyed the content, leave a like and hit subscribe. If you did not enjoy the content, thank you for sticking around. As always, I would love to read what you have to say, so leave a comment and let me know what you're thinking. Also, if there's something you want to see reviewed, don't forget to let me know and I will do my best to get to it. Lastly, if you want to see some more from me, then you can check out my vlogs linked up above or my podcast Good Friends. Again, thank you for watching. My name is Diego and I will see you next time.